I saw a lot of people, go on social media and say, "Oh, come on, why is Randy here? He's on SmackDown. The draft doesn't mean shit anymore." But they explained it right away. Is that, hey, Randy said, it started with the King of the Ring, but should you have won King of the Ring? Because you go back, even Triple H said that maybe it shouldn't have been Gunther to win the King of the Ring because of what the referee and the mistake of the referee in that match. Now it's referee's discretion. It goes on.
Decision.
Gunther won the King of the Ring. It was the decision. It goes on. But Randy's like, I'm owed a rematch. So what better way to ask for that rematch than when he's the World Heavyweight Champion?
I would have liked to have heard Randy say, because he did bring up Triple H's name a lot to back up everything that was going on. And I enjoyed the way that story was laid out. I enjoyed how Randy said, listen, my shoulder was up. You know my shoulder was up. Everybody knows that my shoulder was up. But hey, listen, at the end of the day, the referee's decision is final, blah, blah, blah. But Hunter knows the shoulder was up. He brought up Hunter so much that I would have loved to have heard. And listen, Hunter knows I'm here. He said it was okay to be here. That's all I would have liked to have heard. This way they would have it. I don't feel like somebody's just jumping over for no reason. Everything you said was legitimate as far as what has happened in the past. But I still don't know how Randy Orton was just allowed to show up on Raw without it being because, and once again, they're not sticking to the draft.
Yeah, but I think they went a little deeper. I understand what you're saying, Bully, but I think by mentioning Triple H and Triple H being the decision maker, that's why he showed up on Monday Night Raw.
Then tell me that. No, they didn't.
But it's insinuated. Like, obviously.
Fuck insinuation. I don't want insinuation. I want it to make sense.
But it does make sense.
No, now all of a sudden you're okay with the draft.
He's owed a rematch. But he's owed a rematch.
But he's on another brand. Just tell me, just make it make sense. Don't insinuate it like everybody was saying, oh, well, Bo Dallas was in Pierce's office. That's why it's okay for them to come through Gorilla. I don't know about the conversation between Bo Dallas. I saw him in his office. That's all I know. But, it's assumed, it's insinuated. No. If you went through the trouble of telling me all of that, about the referee and about Hunter, and he knows all this, and yada yada. Tell me Hunter knows I'm here, and he's okay with it, just so I get it. Okay, that's why you showed up on Monday night. Otherwise, to me, it's just the WWE treating the draft like any other time, only it means a lot more with Randy Orton.
Did it bother you last night? Did it take you out of the segment last night?
It did not bother me. It did not take me out of the segment. But sometimes I like my pro wrestling to be idiot-proof. If we have an opportunity to make something make sense so that nobody can poke a hole in it, that's what I particularly like. So all they had to do was mention Triple H again. And oh, by the way, I know I'm on SmackDown, but Hunter knows I'm here, and he told me I could show up tonight just to let you know you owe me a rematch.
Fair enough. On commentary, like you said on our show yesterday about how thick and how much bigger Randy Orton got, Pat McAfee was saying the same thing on commentary last night. So I actually said it on Twitter when he said we could be the modern-day Flair and Steamboat. Bit of a disconnect because I thought maybe more of the Terry Gordy, Steve Dr. Death Williams, because what Steamboat and Flair was able to do with finesse, I think that Gunther and Randy Orton are going to be able to do with just pure athleticism and physical force.
Two things here. The Flair Steamboat reference popped the hell out of me because, as we both know, you would have never heard that during the Vince McMahon era.
100%. 100%. Because how many times did we hear Charlotte and Sasha say that in interviews? Charlotte mentioned to us in an interview and Sasha mentioned it to us in an interview. But you never heard that comparison on television.
No, you would have never heard that. And I love being able to hear that. Did I agree with the comparison? No. I don't think of, when I'm looking at Randy and Gunther, I'm not thinking of Flair and Steamboat, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I popped for the reference anyway. Maybe in Randy's mind, they can be Flair and Steamboat. That's totally fine. That's Randy's opinion. I think there might have been some better comparisons than Flair and Steamboat. Whatever. I just popped to hear that. I love hearing about the history of wrestling in other companies. I despise when other companies, don't acknowledge what happened in the past in another company. Why? It's real. It really happened. Why wouldn't you acknowledge it? Anyway, love that. Now, let's get to Randy. Obviously, I was at WrestleMania. I posted a picture this morning on social media of myself with the bloodline. It was just, we were alone backstage, and I said, guys, I need a picture with you. I have a personal relationship with Jacob Fatu. I know Solo Sikoa, and obviously I'm the guy that trained Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. So I know all these guys very well. It was the first time I had seen Jacob. It was the first time I had seen Tonga Loa. We got in a picture together. So I'm backstage saying hello to everybody, having a great time. I had to go back to the men's locker room because I want to whenever I'm there, I like to watch the show with the boys. Like you saw the Steiners in the suite, and you saw DDP in the suite, and all the legends in the suite. They're like, Bubba, do you want to go up to the suite? No. I'm watching it in the locker room with the boys. So I'm heading to the locker room, and there's a long corridor. It's a stadium, so obviously you're going to have long corridors. And there's only two people in the corridor. Myself and Randy Orton. Now, you can see Randy coming from a mile away because of his stature. But, oh my God, he looked like a fucking monster. Randy Orton looked as big as Braun Strowman. And you know how big Braun Strowman is because you were just standing next to him last Friday when he came on the show with us. Braun's a big man. Randy, now, is Randy as thick? He's close. When Randy was walking towards me, I was like, oh my God, look at the size of him. He's so broad. He's so thick. And as he's getting closer, I'm thinking, did he grow? Like, did he get taller? So I look down at his boots because I'm looking for the lift in the boot. He's got no lifts in his boots. I don't remember Randy being this tall. We get up to each other. We shake hands. We hug. Pleasantries, yada, yada. And I'm just looking at him. I'm like, brother, what the fuck? He's like, Bubba, I'm lucky. The surgery went well. I've been able to get in the gym. I've been able to eat, whatever. The joke. I've been eating a lot. You got to eat a lot to get that big. He is massive. And other than Braun Strowman, I don't know anybody on that roster with Randy's physique. Randy is extremely impressive looking right now. And he had those back problems. And once the back problems were able to be fixed, I think he was able to get back into the gym. I think his body got to rest so much from the injury that he responded so well to the weights when he started hitting them again that he just swelled up. You want to talk about swolled? A very, very big man. I felt small standing next to Randy. I didn't feel small standing next to Braun Strowman. I felt small standing next to Randy. I felt like I was looking up talking to Randy Orton. It was crazy. So, props to Randy for the way he looks right now. Props to Randy, good thing he's been able to come back from the injury. I know he's having a blast right now. He's enjoying his role right now. as he has earned the right to being enjoying his role right now, much like a John Cena or a Steve Austin or a Rock. Randy's a lifer. He's done his time. He's earned the right to be as happy as he wants to be with the schedule that he wants in the wrestling business. But my God, it's as if he got so big and his back has reared back so much, the shoulders have rolled back so much that it's brought his head and neck up, and he looks even taller. That is an impressive specimen of man meat right there.
Well, the thing about Randy right now, and we got to have this conversation, because again, I always say about Randy, and every time I say this, I always say the same thing. It sounds ridiculous, but I do feel like Randy Orton is underrated in a lot of ways. You don't look at Randy Orton as the elite of the elite. And when we even have the conversation about breaking records, we never mention Randy Orton. Randy Orton's a 14-time world champion. They mentioned it last night, and it reminded me because I forgot. Hey, man, he beats Gunther. He's a 15-time world champion. He's right behind Cena and Flair.
At the end of the day, Randy is a professional wrestler. He's not more than that. He has personality, but he didn't have like that John Cena thing going on, did he?
No, never.
Right. Did he have the Stone Cold Steve Austin thing going on?
No.
The Rock thing going on?
No, I mean, as a matter of fact, his A&E bio, he talked about they wanted him to have that type of personality. He explains he's just not that guy. Like he's not the guy that's gonna wake up early and do talk shows in the morning. He's not the guy that, as much as he's loyal and loves the company, he's not going to be the one standing on the mountaintop waving the flag. That's just not his personality.
Randy is a brutally honest guy. Well, he will say, this is what I am capable of doing. This is the schedule I'm capable of handling. Because you got to remember, when Randy first started, he did have his issues. He did have his problems. Randy needed to grow up quickly in the wrestling industry. I was there. I dealt with it. Me and Randy at one point did not see eye to eye. We did not get along. Patched up our differences a long time ago. Now we're all smiles when we see each other. But Randy had to mature in the wrestling business. And now he's like, listen, if you want me to be the best version of Randy Orton I can be, here's what I can handle. Anything more than this, and I'm afraid I'll go off the deep end, or I'm afraid I'll become difficult again. But Randy has earned the right after 20-some-odd years, however long he's been there, to say, this is what I can handle. You can't come in there after 2, 3, 4 years and be like, oh, no, I need a certain schedule. Randy, at the end of the day, like I said, he's a professional wrestler. He's one of the greatest pro wrestlers. He's an incredible worker, which you don't hear me say that a lot. When you hear me say worker these days, you hear me mention the Dustin Rhodes of the world, and the Randy Ortons of the world, and the Christians of the world. I'll even throw Jericho in there. Workers are guys that can go out there and know absolutely nothing, like Flair and Steamboat, and do it all on the fly. And Randy can do that. So that's why I think Randy gets forgotten about sometimes, because there wasn't the over-the-top personality that comes with most who are 14-time world champions.
And it happens even in mainstream sports. You know, I'm close to Derek Brooks. I worked with Derek Brooks for a long time. Derek Brooks is one of the 100 greatest players of all time, one of the greatest linebackers of all time. But people kind of forgot about Derek Brooks because he wasn't the type of guy that would give you that one-liner for ESPN Sports Center after a game. He's a guy who just did his job, kept his head down, didn't really say much. Plus, he was on a team with Warren Sapp, and that's the guy that got all the headlines and talked all the shit. Derek Brooks just had a Hall of Fame career, but you kind of forget about him because he wasn't somebody in the limelight. Randy Orton's kind of like that. He is not somebody that, you know, is going to go out there and give you that quote or give you that motto or give you that one line or have that saying that's going to be on a t-shirt. That's not Randy Orton. He's just a great professional wrestler, but I also feel he's one of the greatest of all times. So I'm very interested in this story with Gunther, Bully, because this is either going to be Orton taking one step closer to immortality, or it's going to be Gunther solidifying himself as one of the best in the WWE right now. This is going to be one hell of a story between these two.
This is about Gunther. It's not about Randy. There's no way you're after what Gunther was able to do for that Intercontinental Championship. And we had him on the show last Friday, and I asked him flat out, do you think you can do the same if you were to become WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Can you do the same thing for that championship that you did for the Intercontinental Championship? What did he say?
He said yes.
That's it. He said yes, period. End of story.
Man, a few words, and I really do believe that this is going to put over. Like, if Gunther...
Like, Gunther's going to be defending his championship in Berlin. This is the hometown boy who has now become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. What type of reaction do you think he's going to get in his backyard?
He's going to get a monster
Heroes
reaction.
Welcome.
So then if he beats Randy Orton in that match, think of that moment. A Randy Orton flat on his back with Gunther standing over him, holding that World Heavyweight Championship. Randy Orton's one of the greatest of all time. You talk about a made man at that moment. That's Gunther and think about what it's going to do for the World Heavyweight Championship.
And if you want to compare it to Flair Steamboat, then a Flair Steamboat finish is what probably makes the most sense. Do I want to see Gunther go over on Randy? Yes. Do I want to see Gunther beat Randy Orton with a finish? With like one of whatever his finish is. I think he uses a bunch of them, but whatever it is. Where Gunther covers Randy 1, 2, 3, and Randy's still on his back? Absolutely not. If you're going to be, is it technician versus technician? You know how I want to see Gunther win? With a small package, with an inside cradle, with a backslide. I want to see back and forth, counter for counter, move for move, and then all of a sudden there's that one little thing where Gunther can keep Randy's shoulders down for 3 1/4 seconds.
Well, let me ask you this, Bully, because we're going to have this conversation because Randy's the one that made the comparison with Flair and Steamboat. Though I don't think it was a good comparison, but I understand where he was going because both Flair and Steamboat at that time were main eventers, and Flair and Steamboat were already two made men, which had long careers. I don't think that's the same thing with Gunther and Randy Orton, but in that Flair Steamboat, everybody talks about those 3 matches in '89. Is this a series of matches? Or do you just want to see the one match where Gunther goes over?
Let's see how the one match goes first.
Okay. No, but if Gunther beats Randy, then that's pretty much it. Gunther retains. He retains the championship. I don't know if you can further on that story. If you are, that means Randy's going to have to beat Gunther.
Maybe you have another shoulder up controversy. I don't know. Depending on how this first match goes, sometimes we get a Randy Orton match where the build-up is a lot bigger than the actual match gives us. Remember the build-up to Randy and AJ?
Yes.
Did you think the payoff was as big as the build?
No.
Every once in Randy and Edge. Was the payoff as big as the build?
I really loved that match, so I thought it was.
Great.
Personally.
You just proved my point. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I'm already super invested in this match because I love what Randy did on the microphone last night. I thought it was superb, and to my recollection, probably the best mic work I've heard from Randy Orton in a long, long time. Seemed super comfortable, super confident. Here it is. You don't like it. I don't care. Blah, blah, blah. I'm getting my rematch. Let's go see what happens on this first one. Now, if Gunther beats him clean, that'll be Gunther's first clean victory over Randy Orton. I don't think you're beating Gunther in Germany, nor do I think this match deserves some wonky kind of finish.
Not with the setting that you have for that. If it was anywhere else, I might buy into that you get a wonky finish, but not here, because I think you just said it, Bully. Despite how dominant Gunther has been, there is a bit of an asterisk with him being king of the ring because it wasn't a clean finish against Randy. I think this cleans up that whole mess. I think if Gunther beats Randy Orton clean in Berlin, then that cleans up what happened at the King of the Ring.
What is the most famous best of 7 we've ever seen?
To me, it was Nikita Koloff, right? I mean, that's got to be it. Nikita Koloff and Magnum TA?
I was going to go with Booker and Benoit.
Okay. I'm an NWA guy.
That's okay, not a problem. But I think Booker, Benoit. Okay, let's just go with that one. Would you like to see a best of 5 or a best of 7 with Randy and Gunther, or is that entirely too much in this day of pro wrestling?
I don't think it's too much because I think, Bully, more than ever, we and especially now with Triple H's creative, completely blown away that you got to give the fans everything they want right now. I think with the Bloodline story and what we got with Cody, 100% you could go long. And fans are in it and invested if you give them the right story. I think you could do it, but I even brought up just the 3 matches like we saw with Flair and Steamboat. That's what I'm thinking, just based on what Randy said in the ring last night. Can you do it? Absolutely you can. If there's anybody you can do it with, it's Randy and Gunther. Because is it safe to say, arguably, right now, Randy Orton and Gunther are your 2 best pure wrestlers in the company right now?
Sure, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So if there's any way you can do it, I think you could do it with these 2. It just feels like, though, because it's Bash at Berlin, it just screams Gunther getting a clean victory over Randy Orton. That's the only thing.
Especially because German crowds are notoriously difficult crowds to win over. Obviously, I'm sure this is a new generation of German fans. Whenever I used to wrestle in Germany for the WWE, they were a very quiet crowd. Not like quiet like a Japanese crowd. Japanese were respectful quiet. German crowds were almost like defiantly or snobbishly quiet until you could bring it out of them. Now, maybe it's a new generation, and with the German fans seeing how crazy the French fans are, or any of the, the Saudi fans are, maybe the German fans are going to want to put their, name on the map as being loud and crazy and over the top. Randy and Gunther will have them. Obviously, Gunther's backyard. Randy, a mega star. Randy will probably assume a little bit of the aggressive, quote-unquote, heelish role. It would only make sense. Or maybe they just keep it back and forth and let the people respond any way that they want.
All right, let me ask an obvious question, because I believe it was you that said it on the air, that Randy is not one to like to get hit. With Gunther,
Randy doesn't like being chopped.
Yeah, well, he better love it, because he's going to get chopped a lot by Gunther in that match. Like, Gunther is known for his chop. Look what we saw with Damian Priest and Gunther on Saturday at SummerSlam. And
when I tell you that Randy doesn't like to get hit, do you understand what I mean when I say that?
I understand it.
Tell me what you think I mean.
Well, I think chops being the example, like being hit just for the sake of being hit, right? I mean, or being snug just for the sake of being snug, for the lack of a better. Am I right? Am I on the right track?
Remember, Randy Orton is the son of Cowboy Bob Orton, who's the son of Cowboy Bob Orton Jr., who's the son of Cowboy Bob Orton Sr. Workers who were brought up in this industry knowing how to work. And the art of what we do is to make it look really painful and really brutal and like it hurts a lot without ever actually touching one another.
Well, perfect.
That's the way
of that.
Randy was brought up in the business.
And you know what? A perfect example of that would be Bret Hart. If you read Bret Hart's book, the one thing he absolutely hated was Ric Flair's chops, because he's like, why? Why are you actually hitting me? The whole object of what we do in professional wrestling is to make it seem like it's real when you're actually not physically getting hurt. Those Ric Flair chops, he's actually chopping you in the chest. It's the same thing with Gunther and his chops.
So that's why I say Randy doesn't like to get hit. When you're brought up a certain way, you understand that you really don't need to do that. Now, wrestling has evolved. Wrestling doesn't always evolve for the better. It seems like the chops get stiffer. It seems like the moves are getting, more dangerous at times with relation to people getting dropped on their heads or their necks and stuff like that. But it'll be a very physical match. Let me ask you this. Did you notice anything different about Gunther? By the way, side note, did not like Gunther in a suit.
See, I'm totally on the other side of this. I saw your tweet last night. I actually wanted to tweet out that tomorrow's episode of Busted Open is sponsored by USA Cable Network's show Suits, just because I always look as that suit as like, again, when we see it, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, what we saw recently with Nick Aldis, like what we're seeing right now with Cody Rhodes, like a champion has a certain demeanor about him and a certain class about him. I love the suit and the championship gold. And I love that Gunther came out in a suit last night. Absolutely loved it.
From the very first time we saw Ric Flair, he wore a suit. From the very first time we saw Nick Aldis, he wore a suit. From the very first time we saw Cody Rhodes, he wore a suit. From the very first time we saw Gunther, he looked like a cross between M. Bison from Street Fighter II and with the aura of Darth Vader. He wasn't wearing a suit. Now, all of a sudden, you became the champion and you put on a suit. I don't think that suit did anything for him. I would have loved to have seen Gunther in his flowing general jacket with his championship around his waist. That's Gunther to me. Listen, we talked to Gunther the other day where he said he liked that version of his heavier self better because that was his true self. Now all of a sudden he's switched over to a suit too?
Yes. Yeah, because
Why?
he's the world heavyweight champion.
He can
and
still
he feels like,
how come Steve Austin didn't wear a suit?
I don't give a fuck about Steve
Why
Austin.
didn't Steve Austin wear a suit? Why didn't Hulk Hogan wear a suit? Why didn't The Rock wear a suit?
They didn't want to. Because
you don't just wear
like
a
as the
suit
world
just
heavyweight
because
champion,
you became the world heavyweight champion.
Why not? He feels like as
what?
world heavy. I'm telling you why. Because he feels like now that he's the world heavyweight champion, he has to present himself in a certain way. Ric Flair didn't wear suits until he became the world heavyweight champion.
So now we're just going to see. So now we just have two world heavyweight champions who wear suits.
That's fine. What's wrong with that?
There's no difference to it. There's no difference to it. That's what's wrong with it. It's the same thing.
It's called respect for the championship.
No, it's not. You can have respect to the championship.
Well, obviously, Gunther feels that way. He wore a suit.
Why didn't he start wearing a suit when he was Intercontinental Champion?
Because you know what? It's not the World Heavyweight Championship.
Give
he knew there was one more goal.
A break.
Intercontinental Championship
Give me a break.
Well, Intercontinental
I'm not going to
Championship
wear a suit because it's
World
only the
He wore it, though,
Intercontinental
Bully.
Lame
he
sauce.
Wore it.
Lame sauce.
Good for you, Gunther. Good for you. Wear a suit. Carry yourself like a champion, and he did that last night. And he's going to beat the shit out of Randy Orton.
Yeah,
in
wear
Berlin.
that suit.
And when he has the press conference the next day, he's going to be wearing. It's not bland. It's class. He's classy. Vanilla. I love it. You got a problem with suits. Just because you don't look good in a suit.
No, I look actually great in a suit, and I pull lots of chicks in when I do wear my suit. And if I have one world champion in a suit, I'm going to go out of my way to look different than that guy.
Yeah, but Cody always wore a suit. Gunther's wearing a suit because he won.
There's no reason to wear it. And oh, by the way, if you become a champion, you think it's so prestigious to wear the suit. Why didn't he wear it with the IC? He looked much better.
Because it's not the World Heavyweight Championship. It's the Intercontinental Championship.
Okay, so then, because we saw him in a suit last night, we should expect him to see him in a suit every time now?
Maybe.
Bland.
Maybe. He wasn't wrestling last night, so why not wear a suit? He wasn't wrestling.
To me, Gunther had much more of an aura and a mystique and a feel to him when he had the Imperium entrance and he wore the flowing cape and robe. Him in a suit, anybody can wear a suit. Not everybody can pull off Gunther's very majestic look in that robe that he does. That's the way guys, when guys all of a sudden put on a suit, it just, for what?
Congratulations, Gunther. I love the suit. You looked fantastic last night, and you're carrying yourself like a champion. That's what champions do.